That's how to tell the computer what we just did and how important it is that you attach the sticker that comes in the box. You want to make sure to attach this sticker somewhere on the hood that's visible in the. You want to make sure to attach what's.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. On this episode of Sam's Garage, Sam and Kevin install a new spare tire carrier on Kevin's Jeep Wrangler. Sam and Doug complete the flywheel and clutch installation in the 57 Thunderbird. Sam wraps up the new AC system in a 67 DeVille. And Sam installs a new camshaft and upgraded valve springs in a supercharged Dodge Challenger. Sam and the Lokar team install a new spare tire carrier on Kevin's Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. The tire carrier from TerraFlex is all metal and will provide more strength carrying the oversized off-road tires. The kit also includes a new mount to relocate the third brake light.
Okay, so Kevin and I are getting ready to install the TerraFlex spare tire carrier, but there's a couple obstacles in our way because in this case it incorporates the hinges from the factory body along with the door.
Yeah, and I'm a glutton for punishment. I love to modify stuff. I've got already stereo, I've got its rear hatch kit, and it's kind of in our way since we got to get the interior panels out. So we'll get the top up, we'll get that out of the way, and then we can really get started on this kit.
That's a nice kit. It's going to easily hold your 40-inch wheel on there.
Yeah, well, you know, I was telling you, I took this off when I first got the Jeep, improved gas mileage, go fast. Well, now I want to go off-road. So this guy just bolts to the door. I mean, you got sheet metal and structure and everything.
It's plastic.
But it's plastic. So if we go with this TerraFlex kit, they've actually got this really nice forged arm, goes all the way across the back. It connects both hinges top and bottom, basically creating a unibody structure that can support all the weight we can put on it.
Cool, let's get the top off and get started. So in the instructions, it says to put the tape on here and mark it. The markings are just in case the tape comes off or you take the door off, you can put it back in the spot that you take it off of. But actually,
you can see right
the
now.
gap tape is holding this in place. Don't use duct tape. Gap tape has the strength of duct tape without the residue left behind when you peel it off. Don't use painter's tape because it does not have the rigidity within it to hold the tailgate up. Now we've got the rubber grommets in place that are going to go underneath the TerraFlex bracket so we don't scratch any paint. And now we're going to be reassembling it with the actual TerraFlex bracket.
So all of us are used to putting stuff together and leaving everything loose so we have adjustment. In this case, these 4 outside bolts are a taper seat, so they'll actually just get fully tightened and installed. All the adjustment will be made off the 6 bolts inside the hinge after we've got this fastened.
So by using the tape, what it did was it dropped the tailgate and it added a wrinkle to the tape. We just simply took the wrinkle out, made sure it was straight, tightened it, and we should be lined up just like OEM.
Jeep had 2 different versions of this camera. This is the later model clip-in style, so it doesn't have the 2 bolt holes to attach it, but they give you an adapter, clips in, and then we can bolt that right in. So TerraFlex also provides a third brake light bracket. You just take your factory brake light off of the factory mount. It simply uses the factory hardware and screws right back in. And it's kind of cool because it just clamps over the little snout there that's got the camera, so you can take your tire off and on.
That is very nice. That's the nicest spare tire carrier I've seen because it's all self-contained on the back of the Jeep, no pivot on the bumper, no arms fighting each other.
Yeah, I think it's got a really classy, subdued look. It's strong, functional. They went through a lot of effort to make this camera mount, all billet.
Absolutely, yep. With the third light on there,
Yeah.
it comes right off, quick release.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, let's put that wheel on. Travis, you ready to eat your Wheaties this morning?
I think so.
All righty.
Geez, Sam, how much air did you put in this tire?
No, 10.
Sam's Garage is presented by NHOU. Sam and Doug continue working on the 57 Ford Thunderbird. This episode, they'll install the new clutch and flywheel that will be used to transfer the power from the engine to the transmission. Once completed, the T-Bird will be one step closer to the open road.
What do you think, Sam? This is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but you know, at the end, it's going to be well worth it, right?
Remind me of that as we're continuing this build, as we're going through
I'll
it.
try my best. Welcome to another season of Sam's Garage. We're here, Doug and I, with his Thunderbird. If you remember last season, we took it to Hemsaw and completely redid the chassis with a new front suspension and a new 4-link in the rear with a 9-inch Moser rear end, Coyote swap. That's all done. Now we're here back in the shop. The first thing we're going to do is button up the transmission. We just mocked it up. Now we're going to put the clutch assembly in it with the hydraulics and move forward from there. When you guys are installing your pallet bearing, make sure to use a socket or some sort of installation tool where it grabs the outside body of the bearing and not the inside. You'll damage it that way.
It's also real important that you have a pilot bushing inside of there, or pilot bearing. Some cars it's a bushing, some it's a bearing. And I'm going to show you something on the transmission. You've got bearings inside, you've got to support it on the other end. If you don't, it's going to take and put a lot of torque on this. It's going to damage the transmission. So make sure everything matches up. If you do that, then you'll have many years of enjoyment out of the transmission.
All right, when you guys put your dowel pins in for the pressure plate of the clutch, first you saw me line up the holes because there is two places, whether you have an 11-inch or a 10-inch clutch. We have an 11-inch. Very lightly tap that guy in there, just like that. You can hear the tone of the metal change. You know you're bottomed out, stop tapping.
If you don't, you flare the end, you could really run into some problems.
American Powertrain provides shims in their kit so you can put the throw-out bearing exactly where you need it. Inside the throw-out bearing is going to be an O-ring. You want to lube that with grease or synthetic grease so that it slides easily on the shaft of the transmission. I'm going to put my two shims in first. The surface of the bearing is going to be right there. I'm going to take my measurement. So we've got a 1/4-inch air gap right here. You can adjust that out with your pedal as well, and we should be good to go. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to install, they've got your bleeder hose on here. You're going to install your hydraulic hose so it's already ready. Then you're going to fish that through the bell housing when you install the transmission. Not bad, huh, Doug? It looks pretty good.
Yeah, you know, Sam, one of the most important things is when you put a shifter in like this, which is a mighty fine shifter, I must add.
It is.
Is to make sure that your proper position is right. So if you notice,
Yep.
I got a hemorrhoid protector here. The shifter. And I can take it for a whirl, and it feels pretty darn good.
It does feel pretty good, and if it doesn't feel too good, we have an axis shift from Lokar. We can put this shifter anywhere you want once the real seat is in.
I don't know, Sam, this is awful nice.
It is. You look good with that, too.
You like that? Yeah.
All right, join us next week where we install the front accessory drive to see if we have good clearance for the radiator. Check out my good client 67 GTO. This thing's rocking a 461 cubic inch engine, and it's gonna make a lot of horsepower. So I went to Pipes Exhaust and I got 2.5 inch mandrel bent stainless steel exhaust. 2.5 inches good up to 650 horsepower. After that, you can go to a 3 inch. Now this is full mandrel bent. The mufflers have different levels of sound. If you want to be aggressive, you can do that. If you want to be subtle, you can do that as well. But when you guys are building a project like this, you want longevity out of your investment. And that's what Pipes is all about. Stainless steel construction, chrome tips, even over the axles, there isn't a single wrinkle. You got the X-Pipe for that sound that you guys are all looking for. And if you guys mention Sam's Garage, you'll get free shipping. So when you guys are building your next project, make sure to check out Pipes Exhaust because they've got the system for your car.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam continues working on the new air conditioning system for his 67 Cadillac DeVille. After completing the wiring and reinstalling the dash, he moves on to installing the rest of the components under the hood. The new Vintage Air system will help make sure the passengers are nice and cool on those hot Georgia summer nights.
I'm at stage 2 of the installation for the AC in my Cadillac. I've got the dashboard on the table because I just installed the radio and I want to show you guys how to wire it up without the car, making it plug and play once you install the dashboard back in it. Let's get started. Okay, so I got the dashboard on the table because this is a perfect time to do maintenance on it. And all my wiring is good, but when you look at the fuse panel, there's a lot of rust, so much rust that this spot here is empty because that's where the fuse for the brake circuit's supposed to go. It was so rusted up that I had to actually bypass it and run my own power. So what I'm gonna do is take every fuse out one by one, take some sandpaper and clean the rust of the contacts on both sides of the fuse so I got good voltage and amperage. Now I did install an aftermarket radio in this and the radio plug is right here, but I want to go ahead and wire it up while it's on the bench because it's much easier than to do it in the car. So I take my connector where the radio was, I take my voltmeter, put it on continuity, touch my ends together, making sure I hear the beep, that way everything is working. There, that's off, because I want to look for my constant power. So I'm going to go over here to the heavy red wire, I'm going to come over here to the connector. All right, so there's my constant. Key is off. That's going to go to the yellow wire on my radio. Now the radio is going to work in the run and the AC position over to the left, okay? I'm going to go to my pink wire, which is where the right side of the position of the switch is, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look for my switch power. You want to hear a constant tone. If you hear a intermediate tone where it just beeps one time, it's not a good connection. The climate control unit is going to have its own switch power. This used to go to the climate control unit. We don't need it anymore. So I'm going to give it switch power to the Vintage Air from the outside of the car. I'm going to continue this and then we're ready to install it in the vehicle. Just doing a little weight reduction before I put the dash pad in. You know, I took 80 foot-pounds of torque out of this Cadillac. It came with 350 horse, 480 foot-pounds of torque, 10.5 to 1 compression, 429 cubic inches. I was so smart, I put an LS3 in it, dropped the displacement, dropped the torque, but it's still a slug. All right, so what I did in this case was the blue wire coming out of the Vintage Air comes into the binary switch. This is basically a high pressure switch that protects the system in case you're low on Freon, because the Freon actually acts as a lubricant within the system, and so you don't want to destroy your compressor. This will save you. All right, now we're going to hook up the AC machine, pull a vacuum, let it sit for 10-15 minutes just to make sure we have a good solid seal. Then we're going to start with 1 pound, and then we'll add as needed. Depending on the weather outside and how much cooling you have in front of the condenser, you want your pressures to be between 40 and 50 on the low side, 225, 250, not going over 275 on the high side. That was a lot of work, but well worth it. All I gotta do now is install the heater control valve, but I got a couple of months before I have to do that. And that's one more item checked off the list. Now all I gotta do is install the seat, then finish up the interior, do the instrument cluster. What do you call the little digital for that one?
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam installs a new camshaft, springs and retainers from Livernois Motorsports in a 2017 Dodge Challenger Hemi. The Challenger is already supercharged, but Sam wanted to take things to the next level. The new camshaft will give the Challenger that iconic muscle car idle sound.
I got this 2017 Dodge Challenger in the shop. It is a supercharged 5.7 liter Hemi, makes about 517 to the wheels, but we needed to hit a lick at idle. So I went to Livernois Motorsports and got a cam kit that's gonna make us roughly 65 horsepower to the wheels, but give us that idle sound we're after. Now in the kit's gonna consist of the camshaft, springs retainers, the lockout kit for the variable valve timing, and the camshaft itself. You're going to have to provide the head gaskets and the head bolts and lifters depending on whether you're a manual or automatic or which engine you have as far as cylinder bore goes. Let's get started. All right, so I took off the front bumper. Only reason I had to is because this is supercharged, so I do have an aftercooler connected to the condenser. If you guys were normally aspirated, you would not have to do this step. This is a 2017 and newer, and you guys have to make sure what kind of Freon you have in your system. If it's an R1234YF, if under high pressure, takes a new machine. I don't have that machine. You have to go somewhere to have it done. It can be expensive. Just move the condenser out of the way. You see there is plenty of room. Once you get the timing cover off, you can have a buddy or a bungee cord, hold the condenser out of the way. That way you can do your work from the front of the car, get your camshaft in and out. In my case, I had to put a pin on the crankshaft pulley because it is supercharged, and you can continue on with the work. So next I'm going to remove my exhaust manifolds, remove my head, valve covers, timing cover, and we're going to start to get to that camshaft. On a Mopar, the timing marks are going to be away from each other. GM is the only one that really makes it easy in old school Fords where the timing marks are supposed to meet each other when you put a timing chain on. So in this case, I'm going to roll the motor over till I see the dot on top. I'm going to put 2 marks on the chain onto the cam gear so that when I pull it off, I can put it back in the same spot. Now we're going to upgrade the springs on our heads because the cam's going to be a higher lift, so you want to do a stronger valve spring. Very important that you change out the valve spring seat. The factory one's going to be a shim. Livernois also provides you with new valve stem seals, but our car only has 8,000 miles on it. They are the exact same seal, unlike the LS engines, where you have to modify or change out the seal in order to run dual valve springs. In this case, we don't need these. Whenever you're doing a head gasket job, the head gasket on a Hemi, there's an R right there for passenger side and a top right there. You can look at the coolant galley right there and see that it's different. They are not interchangeable from left to right. It feels really good knowing that it runs that well after that much work. Now, you guys who have Ford, Chevy, and even Mopars, make sure to check out Livernois Motorsports when you want to make horsepower or when you want to take care of a problem like the Ford cam phaser kits.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Sam's Garage. The upgraded spare tire carrier is just the start for Kevin's Jeep. Sam and Doug get the transmission and clutch installed in the Thunderbird. Sam's Caddy will be nice and cool on the inside. And Sam took an already hopped up Challenger and made it even better.